Conference USA Media Day rolls on, presented by Ryan. Last year, Marshall won the East Division of Conference USA and played in the Conference USA title game. This year, preseason predictions have them winning the East again. And we are joined by first-year head coach of Marshall, Charles Huff. Coach, welcome to Conference USA.
Thank you guys for having me. Fired up to be here. I know it's talking season, and the reoccurring theme is going to be each coach's excitement, but I'm excited to be here, excited to spend a little time with you guys as well.
One of the things I read that you've been telling your team is close the gap. Talk about that mantra that you might have this season.
Yeah, I think, when you look at the history of Marshall and this team and this program, they've been a very good team for a long time. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to get over the hump. So we talked about it in our first team meeting about, doing the little things to close the gap. The gap is not as wide as some people may think, but in order to make small steps, you got to do all the little things right. And close the gap has kind of been our mantra moving forward. Just getting guys to understand that we got to close the gap between where we've been and where we want to go.
Coach, you look at Marshall's team last year, and the defensive statistics are outstanding. You were one of the best defensive teams, not just in Conference USA, but also in the country. Is that kind of a fine line you have to walk? You come in, the defense is already established, but you want to put your schemes and your spin on it.
Yeah, well, I think any time, a coach takes over a program or a system at any level, you want to do the things that the players can do well. So it really doesn't matter what I know or what I think is great. The players are the ones who make the plays. So putting the players in the best possible position to be successful and execute consistently is what we're trying to do. They had a very good scheme last year. A lot of those guys are returning from that defense. So trying to make sure we do everything we can possibly to keep things as consistent as possible, but also putting them in position to, obviously, like we talked about, help close the gap, separate that, the areas where they can improve. We all can improve in everything we do, but also not getting to the point where we're confusing them and having them relearn something completely new.
Well, on the offensive side of the football, people talk about what style you will play, and the words high octane keep coming to mind. Would that be a good description of the type of offense you want to have?
Yeah, we're going to, I believe in scoring points. I have an extensive offensive background. I believe in stretching the field vertically and horizontally. In order to do that, you got to be able to be good up front. You got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to throw the ball. I believe, a lot of coaches talk about balance, and you got to be balanced. I believe you got to do what you got to do to win. And it goes back to the players. If the players are good on the perimeter, then we got to get the ball to the perimeter. If the players are good in the run game, then we got a run game. And that will vary week by week. But it goes back to putting the players in the best position to be successful and execute consistently and score as many points as possible.
How does it help you to have a big, nasty offensive line that Marshall will have this year?
Yeah, I think it starts up front on both sides of the ball. We're blessed to have a situation where we have a lot of guys up front returning. We have some competitive depth at that position right now, but it's going to come back to consistently executing. Those guys have played a lot of football. They are learning a slightly new offensive system, so there is some learning. But as far as preparation to play college football in the grind of a season, a lot of those guys have been through that. They know what it takes. They know what they need to do throughout the season to keep in shape. They know what they need to do game by game to make adjustments. So it's good to have that as a cornerstone of our football team, so those guys can kind of help lead the way.
Well, of course, Grant Wells will be returning a quarterback, one of the best in the conference. Does he look like a more confident quarterback now?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the old Grant Wells looked like because I didn't watch any film from last year. But the spring, he did a phenomenal job. I think you look back at his statistics, I think he did a really good job last year as a true freshman coming in. And I know that the quarterback position in football at all levels is the most scrutinized position. But our kind of goal moving forward. In the spring, it was about getting Grant more comfortable with the offense, getting Grant more comfortable with the team. Moving forward, it's about the players around Grant being better. There's never been, in my knowledge, a good or great quarterback that didn't have good players around him. Don't get me wrong, it starts with the quarterback, it ends with the quarterback. We all know that, but we got to get the players around Grant to play a lot better and a lot more consistent. That even includes the defensive side of the ball. We get the ball more, we got a better chance to score. If we get in a situation where we got to score every drive, that's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of people. So we're trying moving forward to get the people around Grant to play a lot better, a lot more consistent, execute at a high level. And I think what you'll see is you'll see Grant be able to use those guys around him, use the pieces around him to help him become more comfortable as the season moves on.
I got to ask you this just from a personal side. Ricky Ronnie, the head coach of Old Dominion University, they didn't even get to play last season. You two were assistants at both Penn State and Vanderbilt together. Is it special to have a coach like Coach Ronnie and yourself, basically the first year in the league at Conference USA together?
I think it's great. Coach Ronnie is a phenomenal coach. I've learned a lot from him, being around him, 4 or 5 years of my career. Phenomenal offensive mind. I know he's going to do a really good job there at ODU. Obviously, I haven't had much research on them with the job here, but if I know anything from working with Coach Ronnie, he's going to be a tireless worker. He's going to put his guys in the best position to win on Saturdays, and hopefully they win them all but one. So hopefully he can continue to have success in his career. He and I are good friends. We've talked, multiple times throughout this whole transition and throughout the pandemic, just about, how to manage teams in different situations. So obviously, we'll see them later on this season. So I'm wishing him the best. But I did enjoy our time together. Hopefully he learned as much from me as I did from him. And we'll see each other later this season.
Well, as we wrap things up, you said you'll see them a little bit later on in the season. We can throw up the schedule for Marshall this year, and obviously it's a tough schedule, and you start Conference USA play coming up. But from a non-conference standpoint and who you're going to be playing, do you like your schedule, and how important is it to get a good start?
Yeah, well, for us, I know there's a schedule out there, and for the fans, they may have games circled, and there's no disrespect to any other game on the schedule, but the only game that's important to us is Navy. It's a one-game season, and we've got to do everything we can between now and September the 4th to get ready for a very good football team. They're well coached. They got good players. They're going to challenge us. They're going to challenge us on all three sides of the ball. They're going to force us to stand on our core values, which is play with a positive attitude, compete in everything we do, every play, have an elite work ethic. And to me, ultimately, the deciding factor is going to come down to how disciplined we can play for 60 minutes. And it's going to be a challenge. We're working towards being ready. I know our guys are excited about the opportunity. So we got to continue every day to take a step and close the gap so that on September 4th we can go out and do what we need to do consistency-wise in the execution.
All right, Coach, any extra pressure being picked in the East to win the East this season?
Yeah, it's rat poison. It's like the stuff you lay on the ground when, when mice run up and they taste it and they run off.
You were in Alabama, so that's where we got the rat. We got the rat poison from Coach Saban. Okay. Yeah, we got that.
That's exactly what it is. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. Expectations are a privilege. People expect losers to lose and winners to win. But expectations don't change how you prepare. They don't change how you have to execute. I am a big fan of the preseason list and all the accolades for the players. But also I do know you got to go out and work. Devontae Smith was not on one Heisman pre-watch list, not one. And he won the Heisman. But what you don't see on the preseason list is the guy went out every day and caught 100 balls after practice. That's not on the list. You don't see the guys when the lights are out, running routes. You don't see the guys when the lights are out watching film. So I do think that the lists are great, and I would promote my players and my program as much as possible, but it can't change the way you work. It can't change your focus because someone else thinks that you should win. So we got to get our players to understand that those lists are great. but it's rat poison. And the more you read it and the more you taste it, the more dangerous it can be. So hopefully we can do a really good job of blocking out the noise, also working towards earning the right to have those expectations.
Well, Coach Huff, we welcome you to Conference USA. We wish you the very best in the coming season. Last year, Conference USA Freshman of the Year was quarterback Grant Wells from Charleston, West Virginia. Now a redshirt freshman. Ended up last year third in Conference USA in passing. And we are glad to have Grant Wells, who will be quarterbacking Marshall again this year, joining us right now. Grant, good to have you with us today.
All right, thank you guys for having me.
You know, talking to the coaching staff and reading a lot of articles about you, a lot of people are saying you look even more confident and comfortable this year. Do you feel more confident and comfortable?
Yeah, sure do. You know, one thing you can't really practice is experience, and the one coming in last year, I didn't really have much experience, but I'd certainly gained a lot last year, and that I could tell I felt a lot more comfortable in the spring quarterbacking. So, you know, I gained a lot of experience last year, and I hope to move on to that this year.
You talk about gaining experience last year. Two-part question. Were there some jitters in game number one? And when was that point that you realized, okay, I'm the starter, I belong here as quarterback?
Well, sure, there's definitely some jitters game one. I mean, you can't really prepare for that. I thought I knew how to prepare for it, but I certainly didn't. And to answer your second question, I'm not quite sure when that was. I'm sure it was early in the game because I had a lot to think about. But you know, that there definitely were some jitters game one. But after I got those over with, we started to roll.
Now you have the luxury of having some big, nasty offensive linemen in front of you that will protect you, and you also have some great threats on offense. Having those type of weapons, especially the offensive line, does that allow you to open it up even a little bit more and give you more time?
It sure does. You know, having a veteran offensive line like I do certainly takes some stress off my shoulders, knowing that I don't have to worry about who's up front. I know they're taking care of me. And like you said, I've got some veteran offensive receivers, so you know, working with them is a main focus of this summer, and we're working hard, you know, to get on the same timing and start thinking the same.
Well, Coach Huff, one of his mantras is close the gap. When he started telling you about that and the fact that you started out 7-0 last year, stumbled at the end, did it resonate to the team that, yes, we're close, but we're not there yet?
Well, sure. I think you know, that goes without saying that that we were so close last year, and like you said, stumbled a little bit. But you know, this whole team knows that we were that close, and you know, I think this whole team has bought into the saying "close the gap" because you know, we were so close last year, and we know that you know, we have pretty much the same team, and we have a different mindset going into this year. But knowing that we were so close, and you know, it's very possible for us to go back to where we were last year is, you know, a big focus this summer.
Now, obviously, there is a new staff, but the good news for you, the offensive coordinator pretty much stayed the same in Coach Cramsey, and you two must have a pretty good relationship.
We have, yeah. I'm going on my third season with him, so you know, our relationship has to be the tightest on the team. We have to think alike. We have to, you know, expect the same thing from each other each week. So, you know, when I realized Coach Cramsey was staying, that was a big boost for me, and you know, not just me, but for the whole offense. He's tight with, you know, just about every position group on our offense. So to keep that close-knit family that we have on the offensive side of the ball is going to be huge coming in this season.
Oh, Grant, you had a great year last year. We're expecting an even greater year this year from you, and we wish you the best of luck.
Oh, thank you, guys.
In the 2020 season, Marshall hung their hat on defense. They were one of the best in the country, and they're expected to do that again this season. And joining us, one of the stalwarts of that defense, Brandon Drayton, the senior out of Largo, Florida. Brandon, good to have you with us today.
Nice to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, talk about the pride you have and the rest of your teammates having this Marshall defense? They led the FBS in scoring defense last season.
We take defense real serious around here. You know what I mean? We emphasize, run to the ball. All 11 players hats to the ball, tackle. That's a big thing. We got to tackle, and just make your plays really.
Now, you were one of the veterans on this team. Do you have to push that legacy down toward the younger players to let them know that over the course of your career here at Marshall, that defense has been king?
Oh yeah, yes sir. When I got here as a freshman, that was a big emphasis. Defense, and me being a senior, I gotta carry that on to the younger generation. So keep the tradition going.
Now you have a whole new scheme this season, but you talk to people who know Coach Huff. He wants to be aggressive on both sides of the football. Do you think you and the rest of the DBs and the defense, they'll be blitzing a little bit more this year?
Yeah, I think we'll be doing a lot of different things this year. Blitzing one of them, yeah. Yes, sir.
And how about the fact that this defense, they know that they may have to carry the offense a little bit at times, but also kind of get rid of that taste at the end of last season left in their mouth by losing your last 3 games. Does it start with defense?
I feel like it starts with all 3 phases, honestly. We can't blame one side of the ball. I feel like, the fall off last season, it was a whole team. It wasn't just one side. So, we all lean on each other, all 3 phases, special teams, offense, defense.
Now, of course, you were picked to win the East again this season. You won it last year, lost in the title game to UAB. Coaches sometimes don't like when you're picked number 1 because that puts the bullseye even bigger on your back. Does that make you work a little bit harder? Or sometimes guys start thinking, hey, we're picked to win, so therefore we should win?
Well, me personally, I don't really look at it. I feel like you can lose any given game, no matter what your ranking is. You see it every week in college football, like a top-ranked team lose to the underdog. So I don't really look at it personally, but, it is nice to, be recognized as one of the top teams in our conference.
Well, Brandon, we appreciate you spending time with us today. We wish you the best of luck in the 2021 season.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.